Hey guys, today we'll be covering 4 different Viego builds. I recommend you learn every single build on Viego. They all have different scenarios that are good in different places, which we'll talk about every single build and why you should go each one. So before there was like one clear build, now I highly recommend you just learn the items, which we'll talk about in this whole video. If you guys enjoy this sort of build content, please let me know and I'll do more things like this. Let's jump right in. So the first build we have here is the standard build, which you're going to be buying every single game if there's nothing too much that stands out there. So with the standard build, you're going to go Kraken Slayer first item. Okay, you have Conquer, Kraken Slayer, beautiful. Kraken Slayer just facilitates for everything. It really works well with your passive on hit extra damage. You get proc Kraken really quickly. Kraken is the go-to build always. Now, as for our second item, there is Sundered Sky and Titanic Hydra. So the difference between these two items is Titanic Hydra gives you straight up 600 HP, which is around 200 more than Sundered Sky. And the Titanic Hydra helps you proc Kraken Slayer much easier. So Titanic, Kraken Slayer works together. On top of that, if you pair Kraken, Titanic with, let's say, Wit's End and Black Cleaver, then you're stacking these things really quickly. Now, if you are planning to go Black Cleaver, you know for a fact you're going Wit's End, I highly recommend you take a Titanic Hydra. Now let's say you're not planning to do that, and you're going to plan to buy like Sterex third, and then you're going to build into Mortal Reminder or a Death Stance, then you should go Sundered Sky. That's the general distinction I'd make. And to clarify when Sundered Sky is better, it's also important to understand that if you can proc Sundered Sky 3 times or 2 times even in a fight, then the value of this goes way higher than any item in like the whole game. So if they have 3 or 4 melee champions, Sundered Sky thrives. And we'll talk more about playing against melee comps later on here. Alright, now let's get into our situational builds. So I'm going to start off on the left and we'll move on to the right. And then we'll also talk about what items I don't recommend you should ever buy in Viego. So for the first thing we're looking at here is Black Cleaver. So Black Cleaver is just an all-around good item if you have 2 or 3 AD items or AD teammates on your team. So teammates that build AD items. So for example, Kled top, you have Aatrox mid, Riven mid, Jinx ADC. Imagine that. You have like a Tristana mid, and a Jinx ADC, and a Kled top. Well, now you buying Black Cleaver helps shred the enemy's armor, so your teammates can deal more damage. So this is more if you're playing like a tankier role as well, because you're getting HP for yourself. So you also play this tankier role. Now, Mortal Reminder, straight up, is just like okay, they have tanks, and I need to go deal with them. I'm the main carry here. Mortal Reminder is like your go-to item. Like, I need to shred tanks, it's a go-to item. Now, the thing about Black Cleaver and Mortal Reminder is you can't buy the two together. So you need to make sure you understand, am I carrying the game, or am I going to help my fed teammate shred the enemy's armor? After this, you have the option of going Blade of the Ruined King. So Blade of the Ruined King, you can pair at the end if you need damage. I don't recommend Kraken Slayer and Blade of the Ruined King together. I do not recommend that. But if you absolutely need damage, and you already have Mortal Reminder, then you can go Blade of the Ruined King. Sure. Again, also, another way to look at Blade of the Ruined King is Blade of the Ruined King is really powerful if the enemy is building thousands of HP, but not building defenses. So for example, Cho'Gath, full AP Cho'Gath, will still have like 5,000 HP. Sion, maybe Sion's going like tank, Heartsteel, and just buying more HP. Heartsteel Warmogs. And the most obvious one is Dr. Mundo right now, pretty common in the meta. You want to build Bork into that. So just consider Bork is good against HP, not as good against defenses. Mortal Reminder is great against defenses, and then Black Cleaver is all around to help your teammates. Now we're going to look at some of the defensive items here. We have Wit's End, which is your go-to item. So why is Wit's End our go-to defensive item? It's because Wit's End not only gives you 50 MR, it gives you the magic resist, gives you the attack speed, but it also gives you guys 20% tenacity. Very powerful, especially because as Viego, you don't want to get caught right away. Imagine someone CCs you, but you have that Wit's End. Now you can stay alive. Now, some alternative defensive items is, let's say you need more MR, you over-index an MR, you can buy Kanik. I highly recommend Kanik as your MR item. The reason why is it gives you 80 straight up MR, it gives you HP, 2 beautiful stats that we want against full AP comp, and on top of that, let's say you lose your shield, 400 HP shield in a fight. You get a possession. The cooldown on Koenig is 15 seconds. You stay possessed for 10 seconds. Let's say you lost the shield at the start of the fight. Okay, you possess someone, and you're gonna ult, and you're going to spawn with a new shield. So Koenig is actually undervalued, underthought of item in general, especially on Viego because of the interaction. Then you have Death's Dance. You guys know Death's Dance is the classic item against full AD comps, against comps that are really powerful. Only reason why I don't really like Death's Dance is because it doesn't give you HP. But in general, Death's Dance is 100% great, especially if they're all AD. And then Randuin's is one of those items where if they have crits on their team, 2 crit champs. Again, let's go back to Jinx and Tristana. Jinx mid, Tristana, Jinx ADC, Tristana mid. Maybe they have a Quinn top as well. Maybe they have a Graves jungle, Kindred jungle. Randuin's is a very OP item. It straight up reduces the damage from their crits, and Randuin's actually slows the enemies. If you go on next to the enemy and you use Randuin's, you actually slow them, which is very, very powerful, especially when you're chasing people as Viego. Let's move on over here to Sterak's and Trinity Force. So Sterak's, very powerful item for 2 reasons. 1, it gives you that tenacity, and 2, that shield can change fights. You're fighting, you get jumped, and you have that Sterak's. They're all engaging on you, you have that Sterak's. You can survive, and maybe you can change the tide of the fight. Your teammates are there. Boom, we get that kill using that Sterak's shield. It helped us stay alive. Now we get that reset. Now we 1v9 the fight. So Sterak's is your general, overall, just best third item. Sterak's is just like, okay, I can't think straight. I don't know what to buy. I'm kind of lazy today. Sterak's third. What are we buying fourth? Wit's End. What are we buying fifth? Well, any of the other items, you choose whatever you feel like. There's no like perfect fifth item. But Trinity Force is a alternate HP item to Sterak's. So let me go ahead and move the camera real quick because I'm actually blocking this, and we're going to put this here for the rest. Trinity Force here is the alternate item that you can buy instead of Sterak's. If you want to deal more damage, I personally wouldn't recommend it. Trinity Force is like a fifth item to me, but you can test it. Wouldn't recommend it. And last but not least, we're only gonna go over this once. I would not recommend buying Guardian's Angel, Shield Bow, Frostfire Gauntlet, Eclipse, or Maw. So let's break it down. One, we'll start off with Shield Bow and Maw. These 2 items are just not as good as Sterak's. Even if you go Wit's End, Koenig, Sterak's, it's better than Wit's End, Koenig, Maw. Sterak's is just a better item overall compared to Maw. The Maw shield is like, it takes like a minute and a half. It's not even that big of a shield. It's good if you can use the Omnivamp, but you can't use it too well. The Shield Bow, not that great either. Long cooldown, maybe you deal a little more damage, but you actually can deal way more damage if you buy Mortal Reminder or Black Cleaver. So Mortal Reminder, Black Cleaver, or Blade of the Rune King. Any of these 3 items, if you need more damage, is way better. Even Trinity Force is better than Shield Bow in terms of damage. So Shield Bow I just would never ever recommend. Now let's take a look at Guardian's Angel. So Guardian's Angel is one of those items where it feels good. It's like, oh, I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to survive in the fight. But in reality, if you possess someone and you get one shot as being someone else, let's say you possess the enemy Jinx, we'll go back to that, very squishy champion, and you get one shot, well, that Guardian's Angel, like, completely is negated. It's completely useless. So Guardian's Angel is like, okay, as a fifth item, I wouldn't go with third, I wouldn't go with fourth. And it's only if you're very, very conscious that you will not get revived unless you are Viego. Okay. Iceborne Gauntlet, Frostfire Gauntlet, is just not as valuable as like a Randuin's, as a Death's Dance. I would say if they're full AD, it's like a fifth item if you really want it. But I've seen people like Iceborne first item. Oh, please don't do any of that. Eclipse is just bad. Like it's not good on Viego. You don't really use a shield well. It doesn't do extra damage anymore. And again, better damage items and better fighter items than Eclipse. That's the standard build, guys. Kraken, Titanic or Sundered, Sterak's, Wit's End, and then a fifth item that's sort of situational, or you can change your third item to go for something else. The standard. Now, let's take a look at the Survivor, guys. So with the Survivor, you are buying Trinity Force first item. So why Trinity Force first item? Well, Trinity Force gives you HP, AD, gives you all the stats you want, and on top of that, you still get attack speed, which is really nice. Attack speed helps your Q on Viego. So Trinity Force is good overall. Sunder Sky as well is really important. So even if you go Sunder Sky first item, then Trinity Force second, it works the same way. So I would just say Trinity Force is better first. Trinity Force Sunder Sky, think about the HP you have. From these two items alone, that's 700 HP. If you add the Sunder Sky healing, well, you're going to get another 150 HP. The Survivor is mainly if you're the front line. So picture this. You have Aurora top lane. You have Ahri mid lane. You have Jinx and then Janna. You have 4 super squishy champions. And you're like, damn, I'm playing Viego. What do I do? Well, guess what? If you buy Trinity Force, Sunder Sky, Sterax, Titanic, Kanik, Wits End, all defensive items, you're going to be able to facilitate way more than if you went Kraken first item into Mortal, into Blade of the Ruined King. So this is really, if you're trying to be that front line, which some compositions is actually very important because your teammates need that. So if I were to actually like modify the Survivor, I'm actually going to say like Mortal Reminder and Blade of the Ruined King like shouldn't really be here. The reason why is, think about this. Aurora, Ahri, Jinx, Janna. All of those champions deal enough damage to the enemy, or at least we'd hope so. But if they're not, like if they're getting hard countered, then of course I still want to leave these as options. But the general idea with the Survivor is you are the super tank, okay? And you're the super tank for your teammates. Learn to play this build. The way this build works is you're the front line, but you're not greeting for executes. You're the front line for your team. You're the wall. You're the Survivor for their team. And you still do a lot of damage. Try the build out, you'll still do a lot of damage. Now we have the Tank Killer. I think this is the most fun build that I've seen. I'm a personal fan of Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King is really good. I explained it earlier. Again, good against those tanks. It's really good against like champions that build HP. Alawi top lane, Aatrox. These guys build HP. Really good against those champions. So the Tank Killer is when they're tanks, but also picture this. If there are 3 or 4 melee champions, normally melee champions have better stat growth and have better items that build some HP. Think about like a Kali or Riven. These champions, like you might think like, oh, they're not building any defenses, but they're actually building HP, and that's where Blade of the Ruined King is really powerful. On top of that, if they're melee champions and you have Sunder Sky, 3 melee champions, Sunder Sky, Blade of the Ruined King, boom, double value. We are insanely powerful now. So that Sunder Sky is so good, especially against champions that are melee range. And situationally, as a tank killer, again, between Black Cleaver and Mortal Reminder, you need to decide. I would say if you're truly the tank killer, that's your job, then Mortal Reminder is the best. If that's your job, Mortal Reminder is what you should go. If, again, you're sort of facilitating for the team, Black Cleaver, it's okay. And then you always sort of want to pair Wits End. Because Wits End actually helps you deal a lot more damage because of the attack speed, the on-hit damage you get. If you're truly going for, like, I'm trying to kill the enemy tank, Black Cleaver, Sunder Sky, Mortal Reminder, Wits End, top that off with a Titanic Hydra or a Sterax, and you're solid. So here we threw in Titanic Hydra. It's, again, like, if you need to survive longer, it's a 5th item. It's like, okay, like, I have enough damage now. I need to stay alive. 600 HP from the Titanic. Very useful. It also works very well with your on-hit passive. Let's go to the 4th and final build. My personal favorite build recently. We have Shot Viego. There's a lot going on here. Let's break it down. Watch my cursor. Follow along. Hail of Blades is the build I recommend. So you go Hail of Blades, collect your first item into Infinity Edge. Very straightforward. So the collector recently got buffed. Went from 3,400 gold to 2,950, which is so much more accessible, so much more attainable. After you go collector, you want to buy Infinity Edge, 3,400 gold. It's a bit more expensive. Don't buy your tier 2 boots. Finish collector, finish Infinity Edge, then go tier 2 boots. Okay, it's very important to understand this. As for your tier 2 boots, I put Berserker Greaves here because it's actually important if you don't find maximum value from Tabi, 580 champs, or Plated Steel Caps, 580 champs, or Mercury Treads, a lot of CC champs, then Berserkers is your go-to. If it's like 50-50, Mercs is okay, Tabi, like Plated Steel Caps okay, then you should just go Berserkers, because Berserkers will help your Q. You can see in Collector and Infinity Edge, your Q is not, you get no attack speed, so your Q is not actually being used quicker. As for a third item, you want to go Mortal Reminder, straightforward again, just tank killer, overall OP. Even if they're not really building tanks, I still think Mortal Reminder is great. And then Shield Bow is now good because we're crit Viego, Shield Bow, awesome. I'm sure there's other crit items you can go, like Rapid Fire Cannon, maybe like a Phantom Dancer, maybe like a, I don't know, I would say like Essence Reaver, like you could, but I would just say like these 4 items, like this is your core: Collector, Infinity Edge, Mortal, Collector, Infinity Edge, Mortal, and then Shield Bow. You're going to be in a perfect position to just win the game. And the last item here, if you're on your 5th item, you could technically go Starex or Sundered Sky. You can't go Starex if you want Shield Bow, but you can go Sundered Sky. If for your 5th item, you could also just go more damage and just build Yuntal. Now, if you're really thinking ahead, you can go Collector, Infinity Edge, Mortal Reminder, Yuntal, and then Starex. And then, boom, we have that 20% tenacity that we've wanted, and we're still very powerful with the Yuntal instead of the Shield Bow. So just some things to play around with. But I would say in most Crit Viego games, you're not going to get the 5th item. At least I haven't yet. Yeah, that's going to be your full build, guys. Now, I put in PTA and Kraken Slayer on the side here. So let's say you want to go PTA, you want to go Kraken Slayer because you think Kraken is just really good first item. Go Kraken, then go into Collector, then Infinity Edge or Mortal Reminder. So your core is Kraken, Collector, and then Mortal Reminder or Infinity Edge. Mortal Reminder if they're tanky, Infinity Edge if they're squishy. So that's if you want to go the Kraken for the attack speed. I understand it's, people are more used to it, but personally I've been having a lot of success with Halo Blades, Collector, just boom, they're dead. Alright guys, so not much here on the page, but my overall thoughts is you guys should learn every single one of these builds. The standard build is like, okay, no one's really tanky, no one's really squishy, there's no good crit Viego build. The tank build, the tank killer is really good if, you know, again, they're stacking HP, they're extremely tanky. The survivor, I went through that, like if they are really, really powerful, they deal a lot of damage as well. The survivor can also be good. So for example, like they have like 5 assassins, you playing Viego, but you're the survivor now, you are now able to last long in the fights and get resets against the assassins. Also good for your frontline, for your teammates. The tank killer, like I was saying, is just, you know, good against those tanks, good against those melee champions. You always want to be the tank killer when you can. Buy that Blade of the Rune Key. Last thought here for Crit Viego, just to make it really clear, when would I go Crit Viego? I didn't really touch up on that. Hopefully you guys watched the end. Crit Viego is really powerful if you have setup. You have Ornn top lane, for example. You have Galio mid lane. You have Nautilus support. Okay, Crit Viego, it's time. Especially if you have setup. It's actually the only reason why I go Crit Viego. If you have setup, that's going to be the differences between all of the items, all of the like styles of Viego. Learn them all. I highly recommend learn them all. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this type of video, please let me know. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the Discord or in the school community down below. It will all be linked. New communities, I highly recommend. I host weekly events and I have a free course in the school community. I'll see you guys around.